Hey, hi, how are you? As you just saw, I just turned my camera on. So the next few things I'm going to say are going to be indisputable fact. I'm sorry, that's just how the internet works. With that being said, HBO and Warner Brothers are apparently teaming up to push out the Snyder Cut of the Justice League. This is I know I'm not the only one that thought it was like a little Twitter trend and it was just going to come and pass because who would really think a Snyder Cut was going to happen? I thought it was done. Justice League is over. That side DC universe is just going to end up being forgotten about. I just thought that was going to be the end of it. But with the Snyder Cut coming out, that just really has me thinking about what that means for the future of the DC universe and Snyder as a filmmaker. For one, if I'm gonna just start with the negatives. I'm just gonna start with the negatives. For one, if this thing sucks, if this 4-hour project that is the Snyder Cut fails, then I think the DC universe that just might be in for the whole DC extended film universe. Because, well, I don't know if it'll be the end of it. I'm not sure it'll be the end of it, but I think it will really hurt Zack Snyder's career a lot. If this comes out and Zack Snyder does not deliver, it is not leagues better than Justice League. Look at me. It is not leagues better than Justice League. Then I feel like he might be done with Snyder. I feel like Snyder was already kind of, I don't know. I feel like after BVS, Snyder was kind of already seen as this, seen as the wrong guy. Seen as the wrong guy. And for me personally, I love Snyder films. I wouldn't say I love. Actually, let me go back on that. I like most of Snyder films. I think if Watchmen came out today, in today's climate, people will love Watchmen. 300 is amazing. Sucker Punch is not amazing, but it does a lot of good things. It does a lot of great things. Visually, it's amazing, and it has great action. And Snyder is great with the action. If there's anything you can say about Snyder is that visually he is a great filmmaker. If there's anything you can say about Snyder is that Snyder is a great visual filmmaker. Not only with how things look on screen, but also even exposition visually. I feel like he's really good at he's good at the visual parts of it. And I feel like we all agree. We all can agree that Snyder is a great visual director. But I believe with Justice League, there was a lot wrong with Justice League, and maybe it really just is the cut. Maybe the Justice League cut that they gave us really just ruined everything. Who knows? But I feel like the movie has a lot more issues than just it wasn't a full direction. Yes, Joss Whedon made the color correction weird in some scenes. Yes, Joss Whedon added some wonky Avengers type dialogue in it. Yes, that was added into it, and I will say in some regards maybe hurt the movie, but the overall script of the movie was not good. It was not good. I saw Justice League twice in theaters. I saw it the second time a week after seeing the first one. A week after seeing it the first time. So I only saw it a week apart from each other. And no bullshit, I did not remember this movie. I only remembered the scene when Batman met Aquaman because that was all over the trailers. I remembered the scene when the main villain goes to the Amazon only because I was so disgusted by the character model, and that was the first scene that really just resonated in my soul. When I saw the character model, I was kind of like, wow, this is. I feel like this is kind of going to rant. I feel like once they showed the main villain, I realized that this was not going to be it. This movie was not going to redeem BVS for me. It was not going to redeem Snyder for me. The fully CGI villain, the way the action was in that scene. Anyway, let me just let's go past it. The whole point I'm trying to make is that movie has a lot more issues than just two directors making two different movies. It has more issues than certain plot points not being expanded on. And the reason I feel that way is that a lot of these plot points that they have in the movie were not interesting to begin with. The plots they did set up, I didn't care about. And maybe I would have. If they were fully fleshed out, who knows? We're gonna see. But based off what I'm seeing in the movie when it came out, and on the times I've rewatched it, the characters are flat. The plot is weak. The CGI. I don't even. Come on. I don't even have to talk about the CGI. I don't even have to talk about the CGI. Let's retract everything I just said about the main villain. Let's just retract it all. I don't have to bring up the CGI model because we already know what the CGI. I'm not even going to bring up the example. There's no point. But with that being said, and this is all, I'm just shooting. I'm just shooting off the top. And then also, what is it going to be like for Warner Brothers if this movie comes out and it's super great? Not even say it's super great. Let's just say it's decent. Like it's a good movie. Like it is fantastic. I don't even want to say fantastic. Like it is solid. Like let's just say it is a solid movie. Let's just say that. What's that gonna look like on Warner Brothers? Cause we saw what happened with Suicide Squad. We know Suicide Squad was not David Ayer's direction. We all know it wasn't David Ayer's direction. You can tell by the very first trailers they released at Comic-Con and with the trailers released before the movie actually came out, two very different tones. You can tell that it was not meant to be that way and that, studio meddling did what it did. So what does that mean? Does that mean that now we're going to, let me swallow this gum. The gum is like when it's like all stringy, like there's no flavor, it's just like, it's just like muck in your mouth. Ugh. It's like you have like a wet napkin in your mouth. On top of that, if the film does come out good, if the film is solid, what would that look like on a Warner Brothers part? What would that look like on Warner Bros. Part? Like really, what would that look like? I feel like two things can happen. One, it will validate Warner Brothers' new approach, right? With their new approach, they've been giving more hands off with their new films, such as like the Harley Quinn one. It wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it. And when I watched it, you can tell that this was a labor of love, that the writers and the director really was trying to hone in on this character, really understood the character, and on top of that, was trying to put their own spin on the movie. Their movie wasn't like Suicide Squad. It wasn't like BVS. It wasn't like Wonder Woman. It was being its own thing, which I really enjoyed. Even though it's like a spin-off or a sequel from Suicide Squad, whatever you want to call it, it's related, it branches off Suicide Squad. It's its own thing, and it feels uniquely its own thing. While it still fits in that Suicide Squad ethos, or that Suicide Squad type feel, with it being just kind of just really anarchist and kind of like punky, it still made it its own. And I feel like if the Snyder Cut, if it's just really solid, it will show DC what direction they need to go. But on the other hand, let's say it's trash. Let's say it's even worse because you watched 4 hours of something you knew was going to be bad. Something you already watched almost 3 hours of in theaters. Let's say it's bad. I feel like that can hurt Zack Snyder's career more than anything. Because he's been on Twitter retweeting all these things about the Snyder Cut. He's been basically, while he hasn't been leading the charge of the Snyder Cut, he's been really like supporting it, making us feel like that maybe there is something there that was cut out. But let's say if it's bad. If it's bad, I feel like this is just going to ruin Snyder. His BVS, I feel like he had, if not total control, he had great control. Okay? And that movie is what it is. And then BVS comes out, which is obviously supposed to be like a course correction for a franchise. And it's about as bad. I would say it's worse. because it just doesn't fulfill anything that the first one set up for me, and completely ditches the tone of the first one, which wasn't really the issue for me. Um, so that's my concern, because I love Snyder's movies, and I don't want to see him go as a filmmaker. But I feel like if this thing just fails on its face, like it's just not good, I don't think we're going to be seeing much more of Snyder, which is a big shame. I feel like Snyder is a great filmmaker. Yes, BVS and Justice League has its issues, but Watchmen I think was amazing. Watchmen I think to this day is amazing. I still think 300 to this day is amazing. The man may not have an act for character development, but what he's good at, he can do. What he's good at, he's excellent with. And with the right project, why not? With the right project, I feel like he could knock it out the park 110%. And who said he doesn't with the Justice League extended cut, or whatever they're calling it, the Snyder Cut? Who said he doesn't? It could really just be amazing. But I am skeptical. And I don't like to talk shit about filmmakers and their movies, especially when I'm talking. Well, I don't like to talk about filmmakers making bad movies. I don't like to talk about their bad movies and really digging on them, because making a movie is hard, right? Even making the trashiest student film is hard. There's a lot to do, especially if you're really caring about it. Anyone can point a camera and just let people regurgitate lines. Anyone can do that. But to actually have a vision and try to see it through, to talk to all these teams, like BVS, Justice League, like these are huge teams. Huge teams. And while he's not managing all of it, he has a big hand. So to even do what he's doing at the level of competence that he did it at, I feel like should not be understated. And while this might be a whole entire different rant, I'm just gonna go in it. I really dislike how people just really dig into Snyder, right? I know I was kind of just talking about like the bad cuts and the bad things he does, but I hate but I feel like those are more so criticisms, right? Things that he can improve in. I'm not trying to dig in. I'm not trying to like act like I can do better, because I can't do better. But I hate when people talk to him as if that he's just a trash filmmaker, because he's not. He is not. Many people cannot do what he's done. Many people can't influence a whole generation of action films like he has done. Snyder is a true talent in filmmaking. And I feel like with his recent fumbles with the DC Universe, we've forgotten that. But don't forget that this man has influenced a whole generation of action. Like, you can hate that style now, but at the time, you cannot tell me when you saw 300, you were not like you just didn't gush. Like, you cannot tell me that shit was crazy. Like, you can't. So I feel like overall, the Snyder Cut has me more fearful than anything. Fearful about what will happen to Snyder. You know what I mean? On top of that, what's going to happen to the film industry in general? Let's say he releases this cut. Does David Ayer get to release his cut? I know David Ayer has said, this is my cut. David Ayer, that's not your cut, bro. That's not your cut. That's not your cut. Overall, the Snyder Cut, I feel like, it's exciting. It's exciting that it's happening. It's exciting that we can maybe see the true vision of the Justice League. And maybe that vision is exactly what we want. Who's to say it's not? I'm going to watch it. But if it isn't, what does that mean for Snyder? something to think about.